You're listening to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, episode number 75. Today I speak with pharmacist, natural wellness expert, vegan cook, yogi, podcast host, and business strategy coach, Dr. Lindsey Elmore, on Wellness Made Simple. Welcome to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, where we gain inspiration and motivation from others who share their touching stories of renewing hope and discovering purpose in any circumstance. I'm your host, Christina Reisinger, and today we will be encouraged by another tremendously inspirational topic that will embolden you to release fear, begin taking small steps forward, and move into your God-given purpose to live and serve in this life. Join me for today's story. Hello, Lindsey, and welcome to the Faith Breathed Hope show. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you on the show. The first thing I do is I open up with an icebreaker. So if you have anything that you might want to share that maybe not everybody knows about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I have been very well traveled all over the entire world, and it's been a huge eye-opening blessing. And so I have been all over North America, Asia, Europe. I've been to Africa twice. I've been to Australia. Basically, I haven't explored. There's still so much of the world, though. You know, you think you've seen a lot, and then you realize, but I've seen almost none of South America. I have seen absolutely none of Russia, of China, of Lithuania, Estonia. Like, there's so many more places to go. And so I just understand the transformative power of travel.
Yes. Yeah, that is something that I would love to do at some point. What's your favorite place that you've been to, just out of curiosity?
It is so hard to say because the world is just filled with so much unique beauty. Right. But I find myself reminiscing and dreaming about Asia. I love Japan. I love Malaysia. I love Indonesia is absolutely beautiful. Thailand. I've been to a lot of places. Singapore is an amazing city state. And so, yeah, I'm hoping and praying that we all get back to travel soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I'm a homeschool mom, and I would love to take my kids around the world and teach them firsthand. That sounds so amazing. So today we're going to talk about this idea of taking care of ourselves while we're in the midst of stress and natural functional medicine. But I'd love for you to kind of share with our audience a little bit about you, your story, and then we'll get into how we can do that.
So I am originally trained as a chemist and a pharmacist, and about 8 years ago, really took a hard left turn into natural wellness. And then most recently completed some training with the Institute of Functional Medicine. And I love teaching people, number one, that they deserve to be healthy and that there are steps that you can take to be healthier versions of yourself.
I find that interesting that you talk about that, or that you mentioned that we deserve to be healthy. And I want to actually bring that to this area of trauma and loss. So many times we go through things, and our body and our mind are the last things that we think about taking care of. We've got so much that is heavy on our minds and our hearts. And so we don't think a lot about self-care, and we may even think of it as a luxury. So can you talk a little bit more about this idea that we actually deserve to take care of ourselves and to be healthy?
Well, I think that one of the biggest lies that gets perpetuated is that a lifetime of progressive disease is inevitable. I think that so many people are like, oh, it's just the end result that everyone gets cardiovascular disease. And I'm like, that does not have to be the truth. And it is a reality that is so pervasive, we don't even really see it because 88% of Americans have at least one marker of metabolic disease. That means we're all sick. That means everybody, we have normalized sick. And I truly think that when we embrace this concept of my mind is healthy and my body will follow, and when we embrace this moment of saying, I believe in the deepest parts of my thinking brain as well as in my gut, I believe that every cell in my body is happy and healthy and functioning exactly as it should be. And when we give ourselves that grace and that space to trust our bodies and to trust the journey, it starts to shift some of our chemistry that's happening in our body. And so I truly believe that processing all of the bad in our lives, trying to transform it into something positive, something that is the phoenix from the ashes. When we embrace that on our like deepest core fundamental levels, that I am healthy and I deserve to be that way, and therefore I make the difficult choices that it takes to maintain that health.
Mm-hmm. This is a Christian podcast, and so I have to put in the fact that you use a lot of godly words there. You talk about believe, you talk about trust, you talked about grace, and these are all things that Scripture tells us that we're supposed to do. We're supposed to have this faith that is small as a mustard seed, that God will take care of us, and that when we trust Him, that our bodies are healed. And so that is a very difficult thing for sometimes for people to grasp. When you have these people around you who talk about doom and gloom, you talk about disease, and you talked about mindset. You get it in your head that, it's inevitable that I'm going to have X, Y, and Z because it's genetic, or that, this is a lifestyle that I have chosen, so therefore I must suffer through this. Or maybe they've even had a diagnosis already, so, the prognosis doesn't look good. Now, when you talk about deserving to be healthy, I know a little bit from following you on social media that you're a very big advocate for preventive care, for taking care of your body prior to. So I want to talk a little bit about that, but I also want to talk about what it looks like if you do receive a diagnosis and how you can work on having that faith that your body will be healed, trust in this naturopathic way of healing. So let's start with the preventative. So say that you're healthy and you really just want to make sure that you maintain that health, that you age gracefully, that you are here for, if you have family, for your kids, for your spouse, and that you have enough energy to do all the things that God wants you to do here on earth. What does that look like for somebody? We know that we can go to the doctor and we know we can receive a prescription, but what does that look like as far as natural health? How can we figure out where to start with that, because it can be so confusing? There's so many things out there.
Yeah, but it's so simple. It's so simple. And when I say it, you're gonna think like it can't be that easy, but it can be that easy. So in functional medicine, we talk about the root causes of disease, and we talk about there's only 8 of them. If it's not one of these 8, it's not anything else. And so all you can do to stay your healthiest is work on these things. So the number one cause of all illness is stress, is cortisol. If you have stress in your life and you have cortisol problems in your body, cortisol is so dangerous because it rocks every single body system. It poisons, it's toxic to every body system, and it causes inflammation, which causes more cortisol. And now cortisol has important roles. It wakes us up. in the morning and it wanes in the afternoon so that we go to sleep. Like we need cortisol, and we need cortisol truly deeply when there is an immediate threat to our lives. We need cortisol. But the problem is we get stuck in these cycles of cortisol that just last days, years, weeks, months, for until it becomes so ingrained in you to be stressed out that you forget what it's like not to be stressed out. You forget what it's like to have true serenity and true peace. You forget that. And so the other reason that stress is so bad is because cortisol hijacks your insulin response. Okay. So if your insulin response is hijacked, guess what? You're going to be at an increased risk for diabetes and obesity. Cortisol and insulin both hijack your thyroid. Okay. So all of you listening that are like, I have Hashimoto's, I have this, I have that. I'm like, okay, but underneath that is either a cortisol or an insulin problem. And then people who are struggling with diseases related to estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of that, that is on top of all of that. So if you've got estrogen, testosterone, progesterone problems, you probably also have a thyroid condition, whether or not it's diagnosed. And up under that, you have cortisol and insulin. So stress. The next thing is toxins. And these can be airborne toxins. They can be toxins in clothing. It can be environmental toxins. And so, but toxins, they are very real. They very much accumulate across our lifespan. And so if you're looking to reduce toxic exposures in your life, well, get some air filters. Be sure that you're changing your air filters in your home. Clean out your grime traps in dishwashers, in your washing machines, keep your home clean and be conscious about food that you're bringing in as a source of toxins. Be sure that you're conscious about your beauty products and your home cleaning products as a source of potential toxins. And so toxins, we have to detoxify. And how do we detoxify? Well, detoxification, the way that it actually works, the cells drain to lymph. Lymph drains to blood, blood drains to liver, liver drains to gallbladder, gallbladder drains to the bowels, and the bowels drain out of the body. So, people are like, detox, it's not a thing. It's like, friends, okay, if you're having estrogen, progesterone, testosterone problems, I am willing to bet that your liver is clogged up. And one of the main causes of this excessive levels of estrogen is because you can't detoxify it. You can't get it out of your body. Your liver can't break it down and it accumulates. And so even our own hormones and neurotransmitters can become toxic for us. And, we see toxicity in brain patterns of people who suffer from addiction. And so we have to take responsibility and ownership of our toxic exposures. The next one is allergens, antigens. And so these are all of your upper respiratory, kind of conditions, atopies, anything that comes out as an allergic reaction. And much of the time, these are food-based, to where the food is making us sick, which is driving our allergenicity of our diet. And so allergens and antigens is next. Infections is next. Infections, can afflict us throughout our entire lifetime. Bacterial, viral, parasitic, fungal, all kinds of infections are a root cause of disease. The N here is very, very important. This whole acronym is STAINS, listeners, if you're struggling to keep up with 3 S's at the end. The N, I think, is the root cause of basically every American disease other than stress, is nutritional deficits and nutritional excesses. That's where we really do a terrible job is we eat all of this high caloric, nutritionally excessive food that lacks nutrient density. And so we have this huge imbalance where we've got crap food that's full of sugar and rancidified oils and all kinds of just bad heavy duty carbs, all the things. And then on the other hand, we have not enough zinc and not enough magnesium and not enough selenium and not enough of any of the like copper and all these micronutrients that we need. So we're eating food that is making us sick. There's absolutely no doubt. And then the last three are sleep. Obviously, if you are not sleeping, okay, why is sleep so critical? Sleep is so critical because that is when you drain inflammation out of your body. That is when the faucet gets turned on to drain inflammation out of your brain. So sleep deficits and a long history of insomnia, one of the most critical predictive factors for Alzheimer's disease. So sleep over a lifetime, Dr. Sarah Gottfried said it to me, and she said, I want you to think about sleep like your retirement fund. The more you invest in it across a lifetime, the better it treats you at the end of your life. So sleep, sedentarism, lack of exercise. I mean, if you're not exercising, your lymph is not moving. And how did we just detoxify? We got to get the cells to drain to the lymph. And if the lymph isn't moving and it becomes sluggish, we end up with problems. And then the last thing is sociogenomic factors. So your genes, so your nature and nurture, your genes of what you were born with, and then how you were nurtured, raised, felt valued in society, had equal access to health care compared to someone else. And then also critical here in this sociogenomics is what are called adverse childhood experiences. The more trauma you took on as a child, the more likely you are to have disease later on in life. And I truly believe, as I think many of you believe, that God heals everything. God doesn't want us to be sick. And so I think a lot of people get lost in the brokenness that they experienced at this point in time and that point in time. But adverse childhood experiences are absolutely life changing. And so I am encouraging all of the listeners today, like, forgive yourself and let it go. Just let it go. You know, I've learned a lot from attending Al-Anon meetings. And one of the things we talk about in Al-Anon is just when you surrender and you understand that much of the stuff that we hold on, that we're so traumatized by, we didn't cause it. We can't cure it, and we cannot control it. And so if you're still layered with guilt and shame and regret and all of these things, just look back on it and just go, look, I can't control this anymore. It's in the past. It's done. I didn't cause this trauma that happened to me when I was a child. This was put upon me. And just forgiveness, just forgive, and let go and just let God. So that is where I think shows like this can be so powerful, is just that realization and the knowledge. We're all going through the same stuff. You know, we're all going through fear and guilt and regret and shame. And we all are, it's almost like our life's mission. How do I actually love myself? You know, how do I love myself? You know, the church I was raised in, when people got married, they always talked about, like, you know, love your wife as God loved the church. what if you also loved yourself as much as God loved the church? Like, why does that have to be something that wives give to husbands, but we don't give to ourselves? What if you could truly love your children, your relatives in that same way? Like, that's how we untangle all of this collective trauma that used to be more isolated, and now it's a universal experience.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times when we experience things, we tend to internalize them. We may not even realize that we're still carrying them around. And so I was going to ask about whether or not it was unresolved trauma that you were talking about, but I think a lot of times people don't realize that they haven't resolved things, so it does come up years and years later. And one of the things that I've been talking about is we live in a world where so many people talk about mindset, and you're talking about this right now about how we think about things as opposed to what things happen to us and in the environments we are in. And we know that there are many things that we can do for our health that are natural, such as, like you said, sleep and eating correctly, and making sure that you move. Those things are all good to do. And then there's plenty of supplements, and that we could get into that in a different time. But this area of mindset, this area of knowing where your focus should be. And I always say that God was the first mindset coach, because in scripture, it tells us, don't worry about the things of the past. It says, don't worry about the things in the future. Today has enough trouble of its own. And when you come to today, you are able to say, you know what, I have X, Y, and Z going on today. I'm not thinking about yesterday. I'm not thinking about tomorrow, but I do have things today. It's real, it's valid. However, your focus should be on God, saying, hey, God, I'm surrendering this to you. Today, I choose to look at you instead of all the heaviness of what I'm carrying around right now. And you would be amazed about what that does for your body and your mind and your soul, in being able to forge through all of the trials that you go through, all of the trauma. If somebody has a bunch of trauma from their past, and they say, I don't know how to not carry it around. I'm a mess. I know I'm supposed to do all of these things, because we know that one of the most difficult things to do is actually take a step forward. When we have all these emotions of fear and regret and resentment, and you talked about forgiveness and things like that, our brains know that we should take care of those things, but sometimes it's very hard to act on it. What do you suggest?
Your brain is actually pretty stupid when it comes to healing trauma. Because in order to heal trauma, you have to unpack the trauma. You can't. So your brain is like, hey, I just need you to survive today. I just need you to survive and not die. So your brain is saying, as long as I am breathing and not being chased by a lion, all of that other stuff, we don't have to deal with that. We don't have to deal with that. And so your brain, in an effort to protect you and to encourage your survival, discourages you from going to these hard places. It discourages you from going to these hard places. So what you have to do is find places of safety. Find places of safety where you can go to those vulnerable places, where you can go to those vulnerable places. And whether that is therapy, whether that is to church groups, whether that is in, any of the addiction support or families of addiction support, wherever that safe space is for you, where if it comes to it, you can full on cry, you can full on breathe. Some people also do very well in yoga, especially yin yoga, where you're really working on that slow movements that help to move the fascia that's holding you. chiropractic care. So I, in the past year, went through a whole lot of changes in my life, and I experienced a ton of trauma as well as upheaval in the past year. And I recognized that my body was in so much pain, so much pain. I went and got a massage that I thought like might have saved my life. And then I started going to the chiropractor, and about 3, 4, 5 visits in, I get into my car and I'm like, why can't I see out of my mirrors? That's weird. And I allow my body to sink back into the shape where I could see into my mirrors effectively. And I was like, oh, my head, my head has been that downcast for so long. And the chiropractor just lifted it back up, God doesn't want us walking around with our shoulders slumped forward and, constantly just looking at our phones. And this will take me a second, but I really think it has helped me so much. And the idea of living in the present moment will save you from so much stress and so much struggle. And so listen to this. And this is something that I read to myself every single morning before I get out of bed. Just for today, I will try to live through this day only and not tackle all of my problems at once. I can do something for 12 hours that would appall me if I felt like I had to keep it up for a lifetime. Just for today, I will be happy. This assumes to be true what Abraham Lincoln said. Most folks are as happy as they make their minds up to be. Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is and not try to adjust everything to my own desires. I will take my luck as it comes and fit myself to it. Just for today, I will strengthen my mind. I will study. I will learn something useful. I will not be a mental loafer. I will read something that requires effort, thought, and concentration. Just for today, I will exercise my soul in 3 ways. I will do somebody a good turn and not get found out. If anybody knows of it, it will not count. I will do at least 2 things that I don't want to do just for exercise. I love this one. I will not show anyone that my feelings are hurt. They may be hurt, but today I will not show it. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can, dress becomingly, keep my voice low, be courteous, and criticize not one bit. I won't find fault with anything, not try to improve or regulate anybody but myself. Just for today, I will have a program. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have it. This will save me from 2 pests, hurry and indecision. Just for today, I will have a quiet half hour by myself and relax. During this half hour, sometime, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. Especially, I will not be afraid. I'm going to start tearing up. I will not be afraid to enjoy what is beautiful and to believe that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me.
I love that. Where did you say you found that?
That is spoken at AA and Al-Anon. And so it's such a wonderful way to stay in the present moment and just remember nobody else's business is your business. Like if you work on your own growth and your own personal relationship with yourself and God as you understand him, then you have your leaps and bounds above where you could otherwise be.
Yes. And I think that we'll just see if we can find a link to put that out there in case you guys can't find it and you just want to look at it and read it to yourself. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. When we do focus on ourselves, and and not in a selfish way, not in a narcissistic way or self-serving way, but in a way of, like you had talked about before, self-love, being able to take care of ourselves so that we can be good for other people, so that we can take care of our children, so that we can take care of our spouses if we have them, so that we can serve the kingdom of God in encouraging others. Self-care is not selfish. So I really like that. And you know, I'm sorry. Give me a second. So, Lindsey, you have a new business, Wellness Made Simple, which I want to talk about for a minute, because when we think about all these things, like the 8 things that you listed, it can be easy to get overwhelmed. It can be easy for people to say, oh my goodness, did I check this box, and this box? So sometimes when we look at wellness, it can be anything but simple. So this is the thing that people want. They don't, rather than going out and just taking something, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't, there is definitely a need for certain medicines. But rather than doing that, knowing that it's not as overwhelming as we may think. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to do your best and forget the rest. You're not here to be perfect. Like, that's why we're human. We're imperfect. We all make mistakes. We all have our things. And I think it's just a matter of showing up for yourself day after day after day, and making one good decision at a time. Just one good decision at a time. The one good decision leads to the next good decision. I'm a huge fan of Tiny Habits and BJ Fogg's work, because he talks about, like, if you floss one tooth, you are now a person who flosses their teeth. If you do one push-up, you are now a person who does push-ups. If you pray for 1 second, you're now a person who prays. If you meditate for 1 second, you're now a person who meditates. And so, and then just grow from there. If you're a person who drinks 1 glass of water a day, then you're a person who drinks water. Just give yourself that space to go, just for today, I'm not going to try to tackle all of my life's problems. I am going to do one thing at a time and be focused on that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've often said, when we were dealing with my daughter when she was sick, I often talked about tackling her her medical care, as stair steps. And I found that is a very good a good outlook on life, to go ahead and look at things as just one step at a time. It's better than staying still. You get to tackle something and move forward. So, and then the other thing you were talking about, the just for today, this would be a fantastic journaling activity, I believe, where not only just maybe reading that, but thinking about what your just for today is. So those of you out there listening, might be something if you like to write. Lindsey, can you tell us where we can find you, a little bit more about where we can tackle Wellness Made Simple?
Yeah, well, Wellness Made Simple is a functional medicine education platform, tons of shareable graphics and tons of good content that is just me teaching about basics about how to get healthier. And so you can go to wellnessmadesimple.us to sign up, and we'll be happy to offer a coupon code for your listeners. And so maybe we'll make the coupon code just for today. And so just for today, come and visit wellnessmadesimple.us and use the coupon code to get a free month when you sign up.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Lindsey. I'm so excited to have you here on Faith Breathes Hope. And for those of you out there, continue to be blessed and bless others, and we'll see you next time. So now getting a subscription box is all the rage. I don't know anyone who doesn't love to receive fun mail. With so many out there, it can be so difficult to know which ones to choose. Maybe think about Artsa. Artsa is a company that has a subscription box that takes you on a journey through the Holy Land. Each quarter, they feature a different city in Israel and tell its story, past and present, while they source amazing items that you cannot find anywhere else from 7 to 8 local artisans. It's a mix of food, gifts, and amazing content that delivers the Holy Land to your doorstep, all while supporting the small businesses and people who call the Holy Land home. Grab the code in the comments to get 25% off of your Artza box. It's Artza Christina Reisinger, ArtzaKristina Risinger. And I want to thank you for joining us on Faith Breathed Hope, where you gain inspiration and motivation to renew hope and discover purpose in any circumstance. Please like and share this podcast and give us a review on iTunes. Be blessed.